Robert Plank Show, episode 375. Send daily emails to your fan base for more money, better exposure, and greater trust by helping your prospects achieve and relieve with Adam Houge. Hey everyone, and thanks for listening. We're talking right now with Adam Houge, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm always sort of either concerned or it's always on my mind on whether I'm relevant or whether people know who I am, or if I'm keeping in touch with customers, or just if I'm doing everything in my power to kind of always market as much as I can and get myself out there because there's so much competition these days and all that. And so we have Adam Houge here to tell us about daily emails, how to do them, what he does, and so we're just going to jump on in and hear what he has to say. So, Adam, how are things?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you. And so, can you kind of tell us just up front, like what your website is? That way, if people haven't heard you on the show before, because we've had you before, but if they haven't heard you, maybe they can kind of dial it in and kind of have this in the background while we're talking.
Sure. I actually have multiple websites. Right now, I'm running the Author Success Summit, which is www.theauthorsuccesssummit.com, where we're featuring some of the world's top entrepreneurs and self-publishing mentors. I also have thefanbaseformula.com, among others, but those are my two main ones right now that would pertain to today.
Okay, cool. So the authors successsummit.com and the fanbaseformula.com. And so now that we kind of have that out of the way, so I mean daily emails, can you kind of tell us about all this?
Well, there's a different strategy for each audience. In some cases, it might not be practical for certain people to have a daily email, not right away or to have that sequence right away. But especially if you are dealing with businesses or content hungry people who really are trying to solve a problem and get through that, then it is a good idea to be contacting them as often as possible. But the problem is you don't want to be continually hard selling them on your products, so you're going to completely plummet your open rates. Instead, what you do, the best idea is to make sure that you have some kind of a product or something, an evergreen thing that you can have on the back end of the email, in which you do a soft sell with every email that you have, and that helps to continue to bring in some money in between your product launches.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense because what I'm hearing from you is that there are a lot of people out there who do these product launches, and then in the months between, they just don't send anything, they don't do anything, and the list sort of falls apart. So by doing this, it kind of sounds like it's a way to sort of keep the list alive a little bit by having that kind of soft sell offer, maybe in like the email signature or something, and in the meantime, maybe sharing some information to kind of still stay in touch, but then also not be the nice guy who's only sharing free stuff and not having anything to buy. Is that kind of on the right track?
Yeah, and in fact, when you're sending out an email, if the content is good, you don't always have to give something away for free. I do recommend giving something away for free from time to time, but if that's all you ever do, that's all they'll ever expect from you. But if you're writing something really good in the emails, even I, I've worked even with fictional authors, which won't pertain to everybody, but they're, instead of selling them directly on something, there's these fictional authors who I work with, and what they do is they put some kind of funny or fascinating story that they just invented and whipped up, and it's so entertaining. You want to open the next email because you're hoping for a good laugh.
So do you have any kind of examples of some of those stories? That way we can get a better idea of what you're talking about?
Not on hand. I just one of the people that I've worked with. He's writes comedy books, and he was coming to mind. I've got over 600 students that I deal with, so please forgive me. I don't remember each of their names, but I had given him months ago a little bit of some coaching and help, and one of the ways that he was keeping his opens very high, ridiculously high, while sending out ongoing content was through writing these funny stories about his characters that occur in his books. And that particularly might not pertain to everybody who's out there, but if, let's say, we have a business or something else, if you have something it's more than entertainment, but it's speaking to the pain and to the passion. There's two things that really sell people. There are individual pains that they have, and then their passions. So I believe in this two-step process, which I call achieve and relieve. So you help them to feel as if you are helping them achieve their passion while at the same time relieving their pain. And this is easy to accomplish in your emails. And so this helps them to stay engaged, especially if you're creating a community around it. You're sending them not just daily emails, but you can have Facebook groups and other things so that you can have continuous contact with them. And it forms this fan base, I like to call it. So this group of people who enjoy speaking with you, communicating with you. And when they get your emails, they expect to open them because, well, it's you. They're used to you, they like you, they know you, and they welcome your advice, your help, and everything else that you have.
Awesome, and I can definitely relate to being on some people's list, and it might be like a straight up internet marketer, or it might even be like just some random person, and being on someone's email list and kind of looking forward to checking or looking forward to an email from them every few days, or kind of getting into that sort of rhythm where if they go a day or 2 days without emailing me, something's up. It's like the normal the normal pattern is for there to be a message as opposed to there to not being. And so, I mean, as you're kind of explaining all this, do you have any advice for people, like if they hear like, okay, I have to have this continuous contact, something regularly? Do you have any go-tos for coming up with ideas for this kind of achieve and relief stuff?
Well, I guess if you, when you understand your genre and your market and exactly what they're looking for, there's multiple ways to do this. First of all, if you have a blog of your own, you can look at the various blog posts and what kind of messages have really resonated with your audience. You can also do an ask method where you're discussing with them, what kind of free content could I give you? And so rather than just always giving a free ebook or something else, the email itself could be the informative. But I don't recommend necessarily making it a huge long email, as most people don't have time to read through the entire thing. So if you're still giving as much gold value, as many gold nuggets as you can in as short of a time as possible, because what it is that people want to be able to go from point A to point Z with as few steps as quickly as possible. They don't want to have to go through the whole alphabet. So, but if you understand what I'm saying. So you can help them do that by creating not necessarily lengthy content emails, but ones that are full of engaging content according to what they want. Another way to do it is to also look at competing blogs or blogs from your partners. What kind of posts have they used? Their Twitter or Facebook posts that have had a high engagement. Now, I do recommend being careful with Facebook in that you want to make sure that it isn't something that they were paying ads for. Same with YouTube. If they're paying for ads on that, well, then it's going to naturally have higher engagement because they're putting it in front of more people. But if they are within your genre and is having high engagement, and so there's no paid ads behind it, it's just purely their audience and the audience that is surrounding them from their partners and everything as well, and it's really resonating well. These are some very good topics for you to begin in your email process.
Awesome stuff, and so that makes a lot of sense. So check out those competing blogs and look at and Facebook posts, and look at the organic posts, not the paid ones, to get those ideas on topics or problems to solve and things like that. And you said in there that to have short emails, and I can definitely relate to this in that there are those times when, like, because I email every day as well, and when I send out like a big, huge, long, like 2-3 page thing, I feel like, oh, I worked so hard on this, like people are gonna love it, and then it definitely doesn't work as well as something that's just a few sentences and then a link. And then I think back to like things that get me to click or get me to buy, and like that's exactly the way I am from the other end of that. Like if someone sends me a big long thing, I'm just gonna kind of scroll through and kind of see what the point is. Or it's almost like if an email is super long, it like turns me off because I'm thinking like, okay, great, like this is going to be a really hard sell email because they've written a sales letter as opposed to something short. And so when you say these emails should have a short length, I mean, how short are we talking? Are we talking like half a page, a couple sentences? What is short to you?
Well, I guess it really depends on what you're doing. Some of my emails are about a half a page. I usually don't go for a full page because it's an awful lot of content. Some other people do, and I guess the issue is what does your genre want? Are they like, well, you and me, in that I also kind of glaze over some of the details and try to get down to the point. So the main point isn't necessarily, is it a half page or is it a page? It's how quickly are you getting to the main point? Because that's what everybody on your email list is going to be concerned with. The very same thing that I'm concerned with, that you're concerned with, that each of us are concerned with, is how fast can you take me from A to Z and yet fill me with that information I so desperately want to hear.
Makes perfect sense, and that sort of reminds me that there have been times when, in that sort of situation, if I started writing an email and I got kind of carried away and it got kind of long and it was this big long thing, I would kind of think, okay, well, if I just took out the middle and left like the beginning of the email where we kind of introduce a problem and the end where we introduce a solution, it's like that almost works better, and then I can reuse that long email as a blog post or something like that for later. And so I can definitely relate to that. And so you mentioned a few minutes ago that you said, like, sending daily emails is a good idea. It's not for everyone, but for some people, it's a good idea to kind of start regularly and then ramp up. So did I hear you right in that there are some times when you want to sort of start to send emails and kind of do them more and more frequently?
Yeah, you want to have an onboarding sequence. 'Cause some people, when they come on board, they might feel as if daily contact's too much. So, if you just have a couple for the first week or two, some kind of less contact, then you can take them from the onboarding sequence and then put them into the full email list where they're receiving your continuous content.
Okay, so for that onboarding sequence, do you have any kind of like a formula, or is there any kind of method to the madness there? Like, do you say, well, I need to have 10 emails every day when they first sign up, or like what's sort of your structure or your template with that?
Well, I focus actually more on making a profitable email list from day one. There's a lot of factors that you have to look at here. Most people stop opening emails after about 180 days. If you can't make back anything that you're putting, so if you're using ads to get email subscribers, for example, if you can't make that back within 90 days, then you're not going to make anything. There's a good chance of that. Most people have the highest engagement within the first 2 weeks. And this is coming from, I've done well over 100 various types of launches, book launches, product launches, subscription launches, online courses, all kinds of different things. And without fail, the first 2 weeks are the highest engagement that I get and interaction. So I usually like to use my first week as a process of giving away some free content while trying to sell them on a limited time offer, something that's going to close, so that I can use some fear of missing out, some FOMO, to get them to purchase. And so basically, when you're sending subscribers to your page, on your thank you page, if you can help it, you should have some form of a product that's cheap, that is directly pertaining to the targeted audience that you have, that you can sell them on using again, just fear of missing out. And then you just soft sell them for the first few days by giving them, here, hey, I have a free book for you, or hey, here's one more free thing. So they get used to getting quality content from you, and they know that you're not just there trying to make money. Because otherwise, if you're trying to hard sell, what's going to happen is, like I said, you'll lose those open rates. But on the other hand, if you're just using the timing factor, like, okay, I'm trying to give you this discount, or I'm trying to give you this, to them it feels like an opportunity, and so they appreciate more an opportunity than they would, hey, I'm trying to sell you this. So for me, for that first week or two, I'm giving them not exactly an exact formula. It depends on how they come onto my list, but maybe in the first day I'll send them something, and then the next day, then I'll give them a break for a couple days, and then as it's going to close, I'll send them maybe an email or two. And each of those emails is going to have something that's free for them. And not all of them, but as often as I can, I don't want to contact them in that first part. So my formula is, in the first part of meeting them, I want to be able to give to them, because they came onto my list for the purpose of getting something. They asked themselves, what's in it for me? And I want to keep feeding that to them, keep feeding them the what's in it for me, by giving them a few free things. But once they start getting onto it, that finish the onboarding sequence, they will continue to get good content, an occasional free thing here and there. So they know that they've come to a good place, something that's going to give them, what they're looking for. At the same time, I'm not going to be overly flooding my list with free stuff while being able to keep open rates high enough to sell for later.
I love it, and these are all really good lessons here because so what I'm hearing is think about like what's in it for me from their point of view and give to them and kind of treat this kind of onboarding sequence as almost a mini launch or an opportunity where you're trying to give them a discount, you're trying to give them a chance to get in before it closes, and that's and sort of hidden in there was a really good reminder for a lot of us, including me, in that there were so many times when I'll set up a like a free opt-in page or some kind of like email course or something, and I'll forget to have that upsell or that low ticket item for sale right after they opt in. So that's a really good idea, and you're making me think of times when I opted into someone's sequence when I think years ago I opted into someone's email sequence that was like a free sort of membership on time management, and he had like this like 5 6 day sequence, and I kept getting tips, but I'm like, I opted into this free thing expecting to buy something, like even give me something for $100, just let me buy something. And I think I wasn't able to, I didn't get a link to buy until like day 6 or 7. On by that time, I had kind of gone cold, and I was kind of a combination of not as excited about the course as when I signed up. And then I also realized maybe around day 3 or 4 that like I hadn't really had time to digest the emails, and by day 3 4 5 6 I was sort of at the point where I was just saving the emails or not really reading them. And so to avoid that sort of thing, like, do you have any tips for people just in general in this email marketing stuff, like how to get their subscribers to stay thirsty? Because like you said, like you don't like to give a lot of free gifts, and you like to share kind of these tips, but like I'm sure you've kind of seen it gone like too far one way or the other, right? Like kind of gotten where the point like you're sending out so much stuff that they don't even want to buy anymore.
Yeah, I'd say that there's definitely a kind of a teeter-totter there. They could fall to one side or the other. For me, I've found that when I'm giving them in the beginning that free content, it helps to keep them engaged because they're thinking, hey, what am I going to get next? And even though I'm selling them on something, they're aware that if they open the email, they'll be sold on something. But at the same time, they could still get something free. They don't have to buy it. But then at the very end, so at the end of just a couple days, I'll let them know, hey, this opportunity is closing. You're either in or out. And that's usually when I get most of my conversions of pays for the email list. And then I can put them into an onboarding sequence. And now it's just more or less getting people to get used to hearing from you. It's really what it boils down to. They need to be comfortable with you. They need to, and when they first come on board, they don't know you. You might be brand new in their space. Even if you're, an online celebrity, they might turn around and still not know who you are because this is just the way life is. So by giving them an onboarding sequence, I've found that it helps with open rates later because they're getting used to hearing from you. And then once they're used to it and they know you better, they know that when you're going to send something, even if they're not getting something free today, there's still something so good in the email that you're giving them that is worth their time to open it and to take a peek at it.
Okay, so it basically sets expectations early. They opt in and they're used to getting an email every day, and even if you tone it down, they kind of know who you are because you made a big splash early on, and then you solve some of their problems. So now, like the emails are more welcome as opposed to sort of only sending some emails out for up front and then trying to ramp it up later. Is that on the right track?
Right. Right. And I guess one more thing I also want to say, though, is once you get them into that onboarding sequence, I mean, your first 90 days are going to be when you're going to be selling the most to them. After that, they'll stop opening. So that's why it's important to have some kind of continuous contact. Okay, so they didn't open the one from yesterday. Maybe they'll open one from tomorrow. But then they'll see the soft sell and they're reminded them, hey, I also have this evergreen product and here's a coupon for it. And so it gives you an opportunity, like I was saying before, I just to make that money between launches because some people are going off these big bursts of income, and then if one launch doesn't do well, then they say, oh no, what do I do? But this helps to buffer that while at the same time creates a community that you can continually converse with. And if you create other kinds of communities around the email list, I feel that it can help with conversions, open rates, among other things as well.
And so when you say other communities around the email list, I mean, are you talking about like Facebook groups and things like that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It really depends. I mean, some people have open forums, not me, but they'll have small forums, just some way of communicating with their audience and they're being able to somehow get in touch with you every once in a while. It just when we make ourselves touchable, for some reason, people, they like you more. They feel like, wow, I know this guy. I know Robert. He's awesome. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, and it definitely it's an easy way to stand out compared to all those other marketers out there who are just sending their one email a month, and it's usually some kind of copy and pasting, and they don't really care, as opposed to just putting in a little more effort than those types of people. And so, as far as email marketing and kind of being on the top of our game and stuff like that, I'm always on the lookout for kind of those ways to stand out, or like pattern interrupts in email marketing. And so, for example, like sometimes, like you mentioned earlier, that you'll sometimes ask questions of people, or sometimes I'll have people like reply to me, or have them make a quick phone call to me. And you mentioned there that like you sometimes will give them a coupon or things like that. Do you have any sort of things in your bag of tricks that are just kind of different and more interesting than the usual text email with some tips in it?
well, it kind of depends. If when they're first onboarding, I have them reply to me, and so I read as often as possible each of those emails and reply to as many people as I can. And that can be really hard when I'm doing a launch because I've had thousands of subscribers come on at once. And it just really comes down to being able to create a conversation with them, however long or short it might be, because as they become open to you, to know who you are, they become more comfortable with you. And it really, everything in any kind of sales, anything that you're doing, trust is a huge factor. I've been to huge seminars where one guy came on with a business suit, tried to sell something, and he was $500. He sold very few. The next guy came out, and he was funny. He was normal. He complained how he couldn't bring jeans there. He was just a typical average guy. He walked out with selling his product at $5,000, and he had over 200 sales. I was there. There was a huge line of people behind this guy, and it's really just the ability to connect, to build that trust factor. And so I guess maybe I don't necessarily have a formula per se behind it, but I have a Facebook group that I keep, and as often as possible I talk with them. But and I also try to do events in there. So one new thing that I'm considering coming up with, I have a Facebook group for authors where I'll put together like a 1,000 word per day writing contest to just encourage them to continue writing. So when they're communicating with each other back and forth, and they're continually in my space and I'm in their space, even if I'm not directly talking to them, if I've got something where they're staying within Adam's circle, they know who I am, they trust me, and I mean that's the biggest hurdle to overcome right there.
Yeah, I like that, and I like that sort of idea of your customers, or your members or prospects or whatever you want to call them, those people interacting with each other, so that way they're almost kind of they're logging in, they're checking things to see how their friends are doing, and they don't want to stop checking in on their friends. So there's yet one more reason why they want to keep tuning in and keep hearing about what you have to say. And sort of along those lines of some of those advanced topics, something that I don't do enough of, and I'm always kind of looking to up my game in, is these email triggers kind of things, where like an email comes in, I click a link, I check out this page, and then when I come back to my email, there's a second email, or some of those emails where they say you haven't clicked on the email the last couple of times, or like you've clicked but you didn't buy. Do you mess around with any of those sorts of advanced email triggers?
I haven't been working with that lately. Infusionsoft is a really good one for that, among some other services, and I do recommend it. I've been focused so hard on building my summit, for example, right now, and building this community of people. But I do recommend it because there's two things that for sales. There's your sales funnel, which is the steps someone goes through on your web page or website. And then there's your sales pipes, which I like to call them. So once they've entered your email process, what are the things that are going to speak out to them the most? And you use that sequence. So for example, if they did not click on a link, it might be practical to figure, okay, this person didn't click it, so they might be more interested in this topic over here. So then you send that topic to them over there. And so if it's at all possible, I do recommend it. But I at the same time, if somebody's newer and trying to get into an email process. I don't want them to be a deer in the headlights where they feel like you need to have this to succeed. Is it helpful? Well, yeah, it's conversions. The better your conversions are, the better everything else is. So if you have a rock solid offer for your lead magnet, you're going to get more people onto that email list in your targeted genre. And then if you have a rock solid offer on that thank you page of your low ticket item, you're going to have more conversions and it'll pay for that. So it's just, I look at every single step and trying to convert it as high as possible. So although it's not something I'm practicing now, I do recommend putting that into somebody's business practice at some point in time.
Fair enough. That's very practical advice. So basically, crawl before you run, get some sort of an email sequence set up, but then later on, if you want to use the power tools, then the strategy, because I was sort of stuck about like, well, what's the strategy? Like, is it if they send an email if they click or they don't click? But it sounds like the strategy is to sort of narrow down what they are clicking on and then send them more of that.
Right. And so if you notice also there's certain things they may not click on, well, you got to ask yourself, why are they not clicking? Are they just not opening the emails, or did they open the email but they didn't click on anything? So if they're, you could break it down too into, if they're not opening emails, I've resent things to unopens, and those usually you'll get a few more opens, but compared to when you're focusing on what people have clicked on, and even with Aweber, you could tell what people have clicked on what, and you're able to break down an analysis like that. But there are better ninja, I guess, some programs out there that would be more practical for an ongoing process, especially for an autoresponder like that.
Right, and stuff that's crazy enough to do like split testing your email subject lines and all kinds of possibilities like that, which again, like people can, it's good to know that it exists, but a thing to look into after the sequence is set up. So, as we're kind of starting to wind down here, I'm sort of looking for like, do you have any like reassurance for those people who are shy about sending, maybe not even daily emails, but emails regularly? Because like people are always saying like, oh well, that works for you sending out emails and stuff like that, and then I try to tell them things like, well, Coca-Cola still advertises even though everyone knows about Coca-Cola, or if Warren Buffett had an email list and every morning he gave you a quick tip, like you wouldn't care if he emailed you every single day. So do you have any advice for those people who like they get scared or shy or worried about bombarding their customers, so to speak? Any advice for those sorts of people?
Yeah. Well, to put it nicely, get over it. I've had my own personal fears too in the past, launching products. I mean, will people like it, or with as many times they're going to email them, and are they going to yell at me? But really, what it comes down to is if you're offering them something that you personally believe in and you feel is good quality content, you really believe in what you're sending to them, then you're going to want them to read it. And if you want them to read it, you're going to completely eliminate that fear. So make sure that you're building those kinds of things, that you're putting together that good quality content, good quality products. And I guess I did want to make one last mention. You mentioned the subject line, and that's also a really, really big one too. The subject is what everybody looks at first before they open an email. So you want to make sure that that is spot on, something that really speaks true to them. So if it's a topic in which they're continuously struggling in and you have the answer to it, they'll probably click it. And it's true. I mean, if you cast yourself as the Warren Buffett in your genre, people are going to want to always open emails from you because, well, first of all, they really trust you. They believe in you. They see your results and they want to experience it for themselves. So really it's the easy words are, to get over it. But the most simple way to really do that is one thing that I've done is I have to believe in what I'm giving them. And if I don't believe in it, then why am I sending it? And if I feel like I'm not giving something to them that they can benefit from, then why? Why am I sending this contact out? So I make it my personal effort with every email, everything that I send out, to make it worth their while to open it, to make it something they'd want to open, read, partake in. And then it gives me, the confidence to do that because I know that they're going to love hearing from me because they love what they're getting from me. Everybody is a friend of a giver. And so if somehow your emails are giving more than they are taking, people, your fans aren't going to care that you're sending them things on a continuous basis.
I really like that, and that's good advice. So make sure it's something that you believe in. That way, you can put the emotion into it and the problem and solution stuff. And as you were explaining that, what kind of came to mind for me was that, well, they opted in for something from you already. They opted in to get the solution to this problem that they're having. So why wouldn't you kind of step them along or give them some help with that problem? Why the heck would you have them opt in and then forget for weeks on end to even email them? So I mean, it makes perfect sense, and this is all great stuff. And I want to make sure that after everyone listens today, they know where to go. And we mentioned the authorssuccesssummit.com and the fanbaseformula.com. So are those two places they should go right now, or is there anything else you feel like mentioning today?
Well, those are probably the two best places for them to connect with me. Basically, with the Author Success Summit, I'm teaching people whether they're an entrepreneur looking to make their first book and get visibility from it, or they're a six-figure author looking to how to ramp their career up. We're bringing in some six-figure and millionaire entrepreneurs and authors who are going to help them go into that direction.
Super cool. So, everyone, if you're interested in having that success as an author or building that fan base, go to the authorssuccesssummit.com and the fanbaseformula.com. And on those pages, is there some place, Mr. Adam, where people can get on your list and kind of see some of this email marketing firsthand?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Everything that's visible on the page is free. So all they have to do with the fan base formula, I put them through I show them a free course that I've built. This thing it cost me over $1,000 to make it, but in production costs. But I'm showing them for free how they can launch their first book, how to make it as successful as they can, and then in the Author Success Summit, they're getting a free ticket to the summit at this time if they come. And also, I have the authorsuccesssummit.com/rapid is another place that they can connect to get more free content.
Super great. So everyone listening, make sure to go to those websites, and if you like what you see, buy it, and even if not, opt in so that way you can see these emails coming in. And guess what? If those emails come in and you notice that the subject lines and things like that are getting you to read those emails, if you're clicking, and especially if you're buying some of these things that Adam has for sale, then that's a great thing to see. Well, what worked on me? What can I apply? And it's always a sort of a great lesson to see what other marketers are doing and things like that, and seeing what sort of things are they trying, or what seems to be working, or anything like that in between. So make sure that you check out those websites, the authorssuccesssummit.com and the fanbaseformula.com. If you want something extra special, also check out the authorssuccesssummit.com/rapid. So thanks so much, Mr. Adam, for stopping by and dispensing just a ton of knowledge today. I think if anyone wants to do anything related to email marketing, they should listen to our discussion at least 3 or 4 times. So thanks for stopping by and being generous with what you know.
Thanks again for having me.
This is Robert Plank, and would you like to be a guest on the program? Do you have an idea for a future episode, or do you just want to tell us how we're doing? Get in touch with us right now at robertplank.com/ask to let us know.